Hey, Jillian here with Body You Crave. And I want to talk to you this week about a few problems that I see most people coming to me with, because it usually can be broken down into about three different issues. And the first one is that I think I'm doing everything right, but the scale's not budging. I'm restricting, I'm counting calories or carbs or fat or whatever it is. I'm going to the gym, I'm exercising more. I'm not seeing, I'm trying to eat less, but I'm not seeing the results that I want. And that's something that we started to address with this whole idea of it's not just calories in, calories out. Our bodies are not calculators, and it does not account for the emotional reasons as to why we reach for certain foods. Just regulating your blood sugar is not going to make all the cravings go away when there are deeper emotional needs and you're turning to food as a coping mechanism, right? So eating more protein, drinking more water, chewing your food slowly. There are different timing throughout the day. There are all these different ways that we can regulate blood sugar, and that's going to help you to eat less and feel more full and satisfied. But we also need to look at things like sleep and stress. And we need to look at the emotional triggers as to why are you turning to certain foods? Why is it that you can have all this willpower in the beginning and then 4 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe it's 4 months or 6 months down the road, you throw in the towel and you forget it all, right? And it's usually because we take on too much, right? We think we're doing everything right, but we really don't fully understand what the problem is. And the problem is not this short-term view. It's actually that we don't have a long enough view. We don't have a long-term vision for what it is we want to create. So that's why I created this end of the cycle of doom checklist. And it's more of a guide. But I created this download so that way we could start to understand how looking ahead like 5 years into the future is actually going to do way more good than just focusing on these short-term restrictive diets that really leave us wanting more. Because from a psychological point, the more we restrict, the more we want. It's typically how it works, right? When my husband tells me to do something, my first instinct is, you're not the boss of me. Right? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because you told me to do it and you think that you're the boss of me, and that like rubs me the wrong way. Whereas if he were to ask like, hey, will you do this? I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, totally, no problem. But the issue is our psychology around food and eating and what it means. It's moralizing food. It's moralizing ourselves based on the food that we eat. That's the problem that we run into. And so when we have these super restrictive diets that don't allow us any wiggle room, they don't allow us to eat out or to drink alcohol or to socialize, where we create a lot of anxiety for ourselves. Oh, what am I going to eat? And oh, if I have to eat off plan, what's going to happen then? Then it kind of compounds and it builds and builds, and it can be really destructive. And the reason I say that is because I don't know what the turning point was for me necessarily and when it got so bad, but it got to the point where I was feeling guilty for feeling hungry, which is ridiculous. Right? I shouldn't feel guilty just for being hungry, but when you're at war with food and then you have to eat 3 times a day, you're now in this constant struggle and constant battle that's coming up multiple times a day, every single day. And that's the issue, is it's these little beliefs compounding over time that calories are bad, this is good, you need to exercise more, you need to eat less, right? And it's this idea, if we need to eat less, well then I need to try to stop eating calories, which is this whole idea around like, well, you essentially have to starve yourself, or you're bad now if you have to eat. And it can be really damaging, but that's what happens after years and years and years of this diet psychology, right? I don't know that any one person ever told me such negative views, but it was all of what I made things mean, right? Or this idea that like, have you ever had a skinny friend who like pinches their skin together and they're like, yeah, I'm so fat, right? Like, oh, look at all my fat, right? My husband's done this before, and I'm like, no, bitch, that is skin. Stop it. Right? And it makes me feel like crap, because here I start to compare myself, because I'm like, oh my gosh, if he thinks he's fat, what does he think of me? Because I clearly am not that lean. I clearly have a little more fat. Therefore I'm fat. Like, I'm not perfect. I have to lose weight. I have to keep going. Unless I look better than that, I'm not good enough. Right? And it's really their need for attention. It's their cry. I had a really thin neighbor who would do this too growing up. Like, oh, I'm so fat. Look at my fat. And she would like pinch her skin. No, that is called skin. You have it there for a reason. It is not fat. And I don't know if it was just like an attention thing. That's my guess. But it was really harmful for me, because then I was always comparing myself to that. And I thought, well, if I don't look like this, then I'm fat. Then I'm not good enough. And my worthiness and as a person was so wrapped up in how I looked. And it was really interesting because I did these gene keys, and one of the shadow elements, like the negative states, was vanity. And at first I was like, well, I'm not vain. I have like belittled myself so much. I've been so hard on myself. I've never been happy with the way I looked. I'm not like, there's no way I could be vain. I've hated my body and the way I've looked for so long, for so much of my life. There's no possible way. But it was actually very spot on, because I was so wrapped up and so consumed in how I looked and feeling like that is what made me worthy. That was what made me lovable or attractive, or anything, or even just worthy of love, of being able to receive that. And so it was a hard kind of reality check that made me realize, like, oh my gosh, I have been really wrapped up and consumed, and I have to look this certain way, of putting all of this time and energy into, I have to look this way, I have to be this type of person, because that's how I will succeed. That's how I'm good in life. That's how I'll essentially win. And that's not right. But we have to be open and honest to looking at, where are these negative habits coming up, and what is it that's really going on. And so for me, that was a really good kind of exercise. Ooh, just got bright. And in looking at, how are all of these other negative views and beliefs that other people have said that I'm now taking on? Where is it that I'm comparing myself to someone else? Where is it that I don't feel like I'm perfect and I don't stand up? Because that's what's creating all of the negative self-talk, which is making me choose certain habits and certain actions. So it might look good on the outside to exercise every day and to eat really healthy, but when all of those are made out of fear, because I'm terrified of gaining weight, I'm terrified of what might happen if I don't lose weight, or if I stay this size and I don't look perfect and I still have this little extra bit of fat, I'm so terrified that that dictates what I do on vacation and what I eat and how much I exercise. And it's just a constant, like, I just have to paleo harder, I have to low carb harder, I have to work out more, I have to run more, I have to do this, I can never take a break. That's damaging. Like, that's not healthy. It's not a healthy relationship to fitness when you're punishing yourself with exercise. It's not a healthy relationship to food, and certainly not a healthy relationship to your body, right? But the opposite of that is love. The opposite of vanity is going to be love, when we can learn to love ourselves and learn to receive love. And I think that part of loving yourself is receiving love first. I don't think you have to love yourself fully in order to receive love. I think receiving it from other people can help you to love yourself more. But we've got to get over this need of, I can't love myself until I'm perfect, until I look a certain way, until I have a certain weight, until this, until that, right? We keep putting off our happiness and our acceptance and love, or we put off like photos and vacations and all of these things that we want to do, because we just think, well, once I lose the weight, once I get to this certain size, once this happens, then I can do this. And it's this whole idea of, I have to have it first, then I can be and do, or then I can do and be. So I'm going to have it. Once I have the weight loss, then I can do these things and I can be this type of person. When really we need to flip that around, and it needs to be, who would I look like if I didn't care so much what people thought? Who would I be if I wasn't so concerned about trying to lose weight? Who would I be if I wasn't so concerned about being accepted and loved by other people, or being a certain size, or having a certain weight? What does that look like to be the person who has already accomplished that goal? And how can I be that person first and know that it's going to come later, but I'm not going to have it right now? But how can I live as if I did? And that can be hard. It's hard for us to find that acceptance, especially when we've wrapped our worthiness and who we are as a person and our value just as an individual in our accomplishments, in what we can do and what we can achieve, in what our size is, and what our weight is. So that's kind of this long roundabout way. I know I got off on a couple tangents here. But this idea now of, I've got to, I'm doing all the things I should be doing. I'm restricting, I'm putting all these rules, but it's either you can't stick with it and you keep falling off the wagon and trying to hop back on. You keep yo-yo dieting. It keeps going from one thing to the next. Or it looks like I'm always trying to lose 5 pounds. I'm always trying to lose 10 pounds. I just want to lose those last 10 pounds. I'm being consumed with that for years. That's all I was thinking of. And I would always have that. Even if I didn't say it, that was always in the back of my mind for years and years and years. I just want to lose 5 pounds. Didn't matter how much I weighed. I just want to lose 5 pounds. But losing the 5 pounds isn't what makes you happy. Like we think it is, but then when we get it, then we're terrified of gaining the weight back, or we're terrified of what happens if we go back to this certain way, or we just don't have a way of even acknowledging that it has happened. Then what happens if you do gain some of the weight back? What happens when it's water weight and you gain some of it back? Right? Or the scale just doesn't say the same number again. Then we get so crushed and so defeated, right? It's just a total mind fuck. Right? It's a terrible thing. So I always recommend that people do not weigh themselves. You can weigh yourself at the beginning of the month, and then give yourself a couple months and do not weigh yourself again until you can detach completely from what that number on the scale means. Right? Because that negative critic, this is number 2. The second biggest issue that I see is that we are so critical of ourselves. That inner critic comes out and she's a cold, heartless bitch. And she is so mean, and she's comparing I do this. I compare myself to others. I'm negative and critical. And it's because I've accepted a lot of beliefs of other people and taken them on as my own. And I've let all of these different views and beliefs around the diet industry and what it takes to be perfect or to be pretty or to be loved and accepted, what it takes to lose weight. And it's just been these little compounding beliefs that have turned into this really big negative hot mess, right? That's how we get into these wars with food and with our body. It's not that we've all out gone to war. It's one little thought, one little belief that keeps coming back over and over again. And then we add another one and another one and another one, right? And that's how we get to this place. It's really destructive, but it's an easy place because we kind of find ourselves just sliding down the slope, right? So what can we do to solve this? Well, the cool thing about it is we now can take some small, simple actions that can compound over time, that can work in our benefit, that can work in our favor. It's not about what can we do in the next 3 months. It's about what can I do in the next 3 months that's going to get me to a 90-day goal, that's going to help me achieve a 12-month goal, that's going to help me achieve a 5-year goal. So way back in the beginning of this video, I mentioned this guide about how to beat the diet cycle of doom. And it's all about being committed to awesome. How can I commit to awesome with some simple, small steps this week that are going to compound and just double over time? The more that I do them, the more they'll stick. So we aren't changing too much at one time. Most of the time I say, don't even look at exercise. If you want to walk or be active, I really recommend, being active, moving, but we're not going to focus on exercise so much as we want to focus on food. What is it that we're eating? And let's just start to look at one aspect of our lives that we can change. If you're already going to the gym, great. Keep going. Work out. Do what you love. Enjoy the workout that you have. But let's start with just looking at food. Let's look at some small, simple steps, simple changes that you can make that's going to get you to that end goal. And really that 5-year goal, that's what we want to be looking at. But no diet plan ever talks about a 5-year goal, right? Like, who wants to wait 5 years to lose weight? Nobody does. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people can have short-term success, but what happens a year or 2 years or 3 years down the road? We probably aren't doing it anymore, right? And so we want to start by looking at, what is that 5-year goal? How is it that I want to live? How do I want to feel? Who do I want to be? What does life look like, right? Because we need to stop being so consumed with our weight and our, how we look today. And we want to start looking at, well, what do I want it to be like in the future? How do I want my relationship to food and body and with family to be? What do I want my career to look like, right? Let's look at this from a lifelong perspective, because food and exercise and weight loss, this is all a lifestyle. The diet that you're pursuing should be something that you can do for the rest of your life. The rest of your life. What you do in January of this year, you should be doing for the rest of your entire life. right? And that might scare the crap out of you because you don't want to. You don't want to give that up. You don't want all these rules and restrictions for the rest of your life. You just want it for a short term and then you want to reap the benefits. But that's the problem, is that we don't know how to weave this into our life and make it sustainable. And the way that we do that is by making smaller, simple changes, and we reduce the guilt and shame, and we stop moralizing food so that way we can eat ice cream. And that's built into our plan. Ice cream's not a whole food. It's not a real, it's a processed food. It's got sugar and carbs and fat, and it's delicious, right? And we can make better choices. We can choose better types of ice cream. There are some better options out there on the market these days. But if you still want that, let's find a way to make it better. And let's start to look at why it is that you're reaching for the foods that you're reaching for. Why is it that you're gravitating towards that? Why is it that you need to stuff your face with chocolate or peanut butter? That was me at the end of the night. Why is it? What is it that you're eating or not eating throughout the day? What is it around your situation, your career, your home life, stress levels, your purpose, feelings of acceptance and love and connection with other people, right? There's such a big holistic view that we need to take when it comes to creating a life and a body that you crave. And so we need to look at that 5-year vision. We need to look at, well, what is it that I really want to be creating here? And then we can work our way backwards. And so that's the whole plan. That's the whole vision of this guide, is that it doesn't take you 5 years to get there. But when we have that 5-year vision in place, we know where we're going. We have our end state in mind, and then we can work backwards. And then it's, okay, well, what would make me feel really successful and help get me on track a year from now? What would that look like? And then we can work backwards from there and look at, okay, 3 months. In the next 90 days, what is it that I need to do? What are 3 things that I can change or that I can accomplish? All right, what are some simple, small steps that you can take every day or every week that are going to help get you to that goal? That's what this is all about. It's a lifestyle change. And we get hard. We don't know what that looks like. We feel guilty when we go and socialize, or we have a drink, or we go out to eat, and we don't know what that balance looks like. That's the issue with modern dieting philosophies. And that's exactly what I'm here to help kind of share and combat at Body You Crave, is really looking at how can we create these long-term habits that are going to stick with me for the rest of my life, so that I can do this for the rest of my life and be happy and not be resentful and not be hangry and not be pissed off and mad that I can't eat certain foods, or this is off limits, this is restricted, or I can only do this on this day. Right? It's how can I live this and enjoy it? So if you've got some questions on, well, how do I do that? If this is rung true for you, but you're just not sure what that looks like or how to make the changes, head on over to jillianlama.com/breakthrough. And we can hop on a call and I will walk you through, and we'll start to get an idea of what are you doing now? What's the long-term vision? And what are some simple steps that you can start to take that are going to help you to see progress and see success short-term with still that long-term vision of success, so that you're never dieting, you're never falling off the wagon. We're just going to reshape what your lifestyle looks like. So again, that's jillianlama.com/breakthrough. You can also head on over, join the inner circle over on Facebook. It's the Body You Crave inner circle, and we'll be doing some more videos like this. And have a great day, guys. Leave me a comment below. Questions, comments, concerns, fears, regrets, leave them below. All right. See ya.